Part 3, Section 3.5. I still want to decide whether these are equivalent or not. So I'm looking through here and I need to build up every piece I need. I have a not P, a not Q, and a not R, so let's take care of that. I really hope that this part is extremely easy for you by this point. Okay. And now I'm going to do this first set of parentheses, which is P or R. So P and R right here, and it's or, so as long as there is a true, it is true. Okay. Now, what else do I need? I need this set of parentheses as well. So I'll have not P and not R. It's and, so I need them both to be true. I'm looking at P, not P and not R. So false and false. False, that's false. False, 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 true, false, and true. So only these two are true. Now we're ready to do the conditional. So I have if P or R, then not Q. So if this column, then this column. And if the first part is false, the overall argument is true. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those two because they're the easiest. And now if this, then this. So if true, then false, that is false. If true, then false is false. If true, then true, that's true. True and true, it's true as well. True, false, that's false. And then we've got that one done. True, true is true. Now let's do this last part. Not P, not R, that's here, going to Q, which is right here. So remember, if the first part is false, the conditional is true. So let's go through and mark those. So I really only have two that I really need to check, because if it goes true to false, then it's false. So I'm going to Q, which is the second column, right here, okay? If true, then true, that would be true. And if true, then false, that one is false. Now finally, we compare these. Do they have exactly the same values? No, these are different, so these are not equivalent. Okay. So one of the things we're going to talk about is how to recognize various valid or equivalent things with conditionals. So our normal conditional is if P, then Q. And in a previous section, we said that you can always rewrite a conditional if we reverse it and then negate both the antecedent and the consequent. So if we have P, if P, then Q, we can change that to if not Q, then not P. So you flip it around and then you put a not on either of them. And it's equivalent. Okay? This particular variation of the conditional is called the contrapositive. So a conditional and its contrapositive are always equivalent. Okay? But what about the other versions? So we're going to talk about what happens when you flip a conditional around. That's what a converse would be. Or when you put a not on the front and the end, that's called the inverse. And then there's the contrapositive that we already talked about. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a truth table and decide which of these 4 are equivalent, if any of them. So I'm looking at this, and if I'm going to do a truth table for each of these, I need a not Q and a not R. A not P and not Q, sorry. Not P is false, false, true, true. Not Q would be false, true, false, true. And I'm just going to go through each of these. If P, then Q. Well, we know that if P, then Q, the only time that one's false is when you have a true going to a false. Okay, so I've done that one. Let's do if Q, then P. So we're reversing it. If true, then true. That one is true. If false, then true. That one is true. If true, then false. That's false. If false, then false. That one is true. So are these 2 equivalent? No, because our middle 2 have different truth values. So in general, we cannot just reverse a conditional. Okay, so let's do if not P, then not Q. Not P going to not Q. So false, false, that's true. False to true, that is true. True to false, that one's false. True to true is true. Now notice that these 2 are the same. I have true, true, false, true. And neither of these is the same as the conditional. And then we already talked about the contrapositive. I've told you that they are equivalent, but let's go ahead and do this. If not Q, then not P. So if false, then false is true. If true, then false, that's false. If false, then true, that is true. If true, then true is also true. Now compare these, and these are exactly the same as well. So these 2 are also equivalent. Okay? What you want to notice, in addition to some other things, we're going to be talking a lot more about this in a bit, but these are not negations. Remember, a negation has to have a completely different truth value for each one. So if I were talking about the negation of if P then Q, I would have to have a false and then a true and then a false and a false, and I don't have that anywhere. These are not negations of each other. We're only talking about whether they are equivalent or not.